Close your eyes now, sweet one, and let the softest rain begin to fall outside an old window somewhere far away. Gentle taps on glass that match the slow rhythm of your breathing. Let every drop carry you a little deeper into the pillows, into the warmth, into the quiet place where stories are allowed to be both heavy and healing at the same time. Tonight, I'm going to whisper you the entire journey of a man named Oskar Schindler, from the very first moment we meet him until the final tear that falls on a hill of graves, every secret, every heartbeat, every name on that sacred list. Nothing will be hidden from you, because sometimes the only way to truly rest is to let the whole truth settle over you like the softest blanket, and then to feel it become lighter and lighter until it turns into hope. Imagine the year is 1939, and the air in Europe already smells faintly of smoke and fear. But here, in this moment with me, that smoke is only the memory of a fireplace long ago, warm and distant. You are safe. Your shoulders can drop now. Your thoughts can drift. I will hold the weight of this story so you don't have to. All you need to do is listen to my voice, soft as brushed cotton against your ear, and let the rain keep time. This is the tale of a man who began as a businessman chasing profit in wartime, a charming opportunist in expensive suits, and who ended as someone who sold every penny he had, who risked everything, who wept because he felt he had not done enough. A man who saved over 1,000 souls by writing their names on simple pieces of paper while the world tried to erase them. A man whose heart broke open so wide that it let the light in for generations he would never meet. Trivia the first, whispered just for you. Steven Spielberg was offered $20 million to direct this film and refused to take a single cent. He said the money would be blood money. Instead, he donated every profit from the movie to the Shoah Foundation so that survivors could tell their stories forever. Even the making of this film was an act of redemption. Have you ever carried guilt that felt too heavy to name? A moment when you wished you could go back and choose differently? Breathe out now, slowly. This story is going to show you that even the most imperfect among us can still turn toward the light, and that turning, no matter how late, is still beautiful. Feel the cool linen of your pillowcase under your cheek. Notice how the rain outside has grown a little softer, like it's listening too. Somewhere in the distance there is the faint creak of an old wooden floorboard. The sound of a book being opened for the very first time tonight. Page 1. The year is 1939, and a train is pulling into Krakow station, steam curling like white ghosts into the cold September air. But before we step onto that platform, let me ask you something gentle. When was the last time you felt truly seen by another person, the way Schindler would one day see the people he saved? Hold that feeling for a moment, warm and quiet, and let it rest inside your chest like a tiny candle. We're going to need its light very soon, but not yet. For now, just breathe in for 4 slow counts, hold for 4, and breathe out for 8. Good. Again. Perfect. Trivia the second. The little girl in the red coat, the only color you will ever see in this black and white film, was played by a 3-year-old named Olivia Dabrowska. Spielberg told her never to watch the movie until she was 18 because he wanted to protect her. She watched it at 11 and was traumatized. Years later, as an adult, she said it became the greatest gift of her life, because it taught her what humanity is capable of, both the worst and the best. Can you feel how your body is growing heavier against the mattress now? That's perfect. That means you're letting go. Let the story carry you the way a slow river carries a leaf. No effort at all. In a moment, we will meet Oskar Schindler dressing for his first night in Krakow, adjusting his Nazi party pin in the mirror with a smile that still believes the world belongs to men like him. But right now, right here, there is only rain, only my voice, only the soft rise and fall of your breath. One more slow inhale, and when you exhale, feel every muscle in your face soften, your jaw, your forehead, the tiny place between your eyebrows. Good, you're doing beautifully. When you're ready, and only when you're ready, we will begin the first act, the arrival, the factory, the slow awakening of a conscience that didn't know it was asleep. But for now, just rest here with me under the rain. Nothing is required of you except to listen and to drift. The story already loves you, and it's going to hold you very, very gently all the way to the end. Let the rain keep falling, soft and steady, as we step together onto the platform of Krakow Główny Station in September 1939. The air is cold enough that every breath comes out as a small white cloud, and the smell of coal smoke mixes with wet stone and the faint metallic tang of fear. German officers stride past in perfectly polished boots, their voices sharp and certain. And there, among them, stepping down from a first-class carriage, is Oskar Schindler. Tall, broad-shouldered, impossibly handsome in his long cashmere overcoat. His hair is slicked back with brilliantine that catches the weak sunlight, and on his lapel glints the tiny silver Nazi party pin he bought for the price of a good dinner because doors open faster when you wear it. He smiles at everyone, an easy, dazzling smile that says, "I belong here, I will own this place before the week is out." Feel the texture of his leather gloves as he adjusts the brim of his hat, soft kid leather whispering against wool. Hear the crisp click of his heels on the platform, confident, unhurried. He is 31 years old and has already failed at 3 businesses, already left a wife in Zwickau, already drunk enough cognac in his life to drown a regiment, but none of that matters now because war is the greatest opportunity he has ever smelled. Money is going to pour like champagne, and he intends to be holding the bottle. Trivia the first of this act. The real Oskar Schindler arrived in Krakow with only 2 suitcases and 15,000 Reichsmarks sewn into the lining of his coat. Within 6 months, he would be one of the richest men in the city, all of it built on the broken backs of occupied Poland. We follow him into the plush warmth of the Hotel Royal, where crystal chandeliers tremble faintly from distant artillery practice, and the concierge bows so low his mustache almost brushes the marble floor. Schindler orders French cognac, lights a cigarette with a gold lighter engraved with his initials, and begins charming every officer in sight. His laugh is warm, infectious. He remembers names, he pours drinks, he slips 20 zloty notes into palms like a magician. By midnight, he has invitations to every important office in the city. Have you ever worn a mask so perfectly that even you almost believed it was your real face? Breathe into that thought for a moment, slowly. Let it rest on your chest like a sleeping cat. Neither good nor bad, just there. Schindler wore many masks in those first months. And tonight, we are going to watch them start to slip, one by one, without him even noticing. A few weeks later, he finds the perfect factory, Deutsche E-Mail-Warenfabrik, DEF, a bankrupt pot and pan works on Lipoa Street. The building smells of rust and old oil, but Schindler smells opportunity. He stands in the empty courtyard, coat collar turned up against the October wind, and runs his gloved hand along the cold brick wall, feeling the texture of possibility. Inside, rows of silent machines wait like sleeping animals. He already knows exactly what he will produce. mess kits and field kitchenware for the Wehrmacht, contracts worth millions. But he has no money to restart the factory. So he does what he does best. He throws parties, endless parties, cognac rivers, caviar mountains, beautiful women on every arm. SS officers leave his apartment at dawn drunk and grateful, promising anything he wants. And what he wants is a loan from the Jewish Relief Committee, secured against the future profits he swears will come. The committee agrees because they have no choice, because the Germans have frozen all Jewish bank accounts, because starvation is already licking at the edges of the ghetto they haven't built yet. This is when we first meet Itzhak Stern. Quiet, thin spectacles, reflecting the weak electric light in a cramped accounting office. Stern wears a worn brown suit and carries the weight of centuries in his shoulders. When Schindler bursts in, laughing, smelling of cologne and victory, Stern does not smile. He simply adjusts his glasses and begins explaining the paperwork in a voice so soft it could lull a child to sleep. Schindler barely listens. He is already picturing the factory humming, the money rolling in, the beautiful life. But something in Stern's voice, something patient and ancient, brushes against Schindler's ear like the wing of a night bird. He doesn't recognize it yet, but it is the first feather touch of conscience. "Reflection for you now," whispered gently. "Have you ever met someone whose quiet presence made you feel suddenly uncomfortably seen? Someone who looked at you and somehow saw past every charming lie you told the world? Let that memory rise softly, like warm air under a blanket. Hold it without judgment. Breathe it out on a long, slow exhale. Good." The factory opens. Jewish workers arrive before dawn, shuffling through the gates with yellow stars sewn crookedly onto their coats. The air inside is thick with metal dust and the sour smell of fear sweat. Schindler walks the floor in his spotless white shirt, sleeves rolled high, tie loosened, cigarette dangling. He greets the workers by their first names within a week, a trick that costs him nothing and buys him adoration. He flirts with the typists, slaps the men on the back, tells dirty jokes in Yiddish he learned from nightclub musicians. The workers laugh because laughter is cheaper than bread, and twice as nourishing. One day in early 1940, he watches an old man named Mila Pfefferberg struggle to lift a heavy crate. Pfefferberg's hands shake. He is 63 and starving. Without thinking, Schindler takes the crate himself, muscles straining under the expensive shirt, and carries it across the factory floor while every worker stares in stunned silence. It is the first time any of them has seen a German treat a Jew like a human being since the occupation began. Schindler feels their eyes on him and is suddenly embarrassed. He lights another cigarette to hide the flush on his cheeks. Trivia the second. The real Poldek Pfefferberg, Mila's son, became one of Schindler's closest friends after the war, and spent decades trying to get someone, anyone, to tell Oscar's story. He finally cornered Steven Spielberg in a Beverly Hills shop in 1982, and refused to leave until Spielberg promised to read Thomas Keneally's book. That promise became this film we are drifting through tonight. Winter comes hard. Snow falls thick and silent over Krakow, muffling the screams from the ghetto that is being built brick by brick. Schindler drives his sleek BMW convertible through the gates each morning, scarf fluttering like a flag of careless privilege. Inside the factory, the workers huddle around makeshift stoves made from old oil drums. Schindler notices. One morning he arrives with a truckload of coal and bread, real bread, crusty and warm. He tosses the loaves to the workers the way other men toss coins to beggars, laughing, but his eyes linger a moment too long on their faces. Stern watches all of this from his tiny glass office, making careful notes in perfect handwriting. He has begun forging documents, marking every worker as essential to the war effort. Even the one-handed man who polishes pots until they shine like mirrors. Even the little boy who sweeps the floor. Essential. The word becomes a prayer. Have you ever done something small, almost accidental, that turned out to be the first step on a path you never meant to walk? Close your eyes and feel the snow falling on your eyelids. Cold at first, then melting into warm water. That is what kindness feels like when it first touches a frozen heart. By the spring of 1941, the factory is profitable beyond Schindler's wildest dreams. He has a new apartment overlooking the Vistula River, silk sheets, a mistress named Ingrid who wears perfume that costs more per ounce than most workers earn in a month. He throws parties that last until sunrise, jazz records spinning while SS officers dance with Jewish girls who will be deported tomorrow. He laughs too loudly, drinks too much, kisses too many cheeks, but sometimes, in the quiet hour before dawn, he stands at his window and watches the searchlights sweep across the ghetto walls, and feels something he cannot name pressing against the inside of his ribs. One night in March 1942, the ghetto is liquidated. From his balcony, Schindler watches the streets fill with soldiers and dogs and screaming families. He sees a little girl in a red coat, the only color in a world of black and white, walking alone through the chaos as if invisible. She disappears around a corner and he never sees her again, but the image burns itself onto the back of his eyelids forever. That is the moment the mask begins to crack, though he will not admit it for many months yet. The rain outside your window has grown softer now, almost a lullaby. Let it wash that image away for tonight. Let my voice cover it like fresh snow. You are safe, you are held, and we are only just beginning. Let the rain settle into the gentlest hush now, barely more than a whisper against the glass, because what comes next asks for quiet. We are moving into the deepest night of the story, the part where the darkness feels so complete that even a single match would seem like the sun. Breathe with me, slow and steady, 4 counts in, 8 counts out, until your whole body feels like warm candle wax melting into the sheets. June 1942. The Krakow ghetto is being emptied in earnest. From the factory courtyard, Schindler and Stern watch columns of people being marched past the gates, suitcases in trembling hands, children carried on shoulders, old women clutching photographs they will never look at again. The air is thick with the smell of sweat and terror and gun oil. Somewhere a baby cries and is quickly muffled. Schindler's knuckles are white on the iron railing. For once he has no cigarette, no joke, no charming smile. Stern stands beside him, perfectly still, spectacles fogged with breath he refuses to release. That night, Schindler drives to the apartment of his mistress, but he cannot touch her. He pours cognac with shaking hands and stares at the wall until dawn. The little girl in the red coat walks across his closed eyelids every time he blinks. Trivia the first of this act whispered very softly, "The real Amon Goth, the commandant of Plassau we are about to meet, kept 2 dogs trained to tear people apart on command." When Spielberg filmed the scenes of Goth shooting from his balcony, Ralph Fiennes lost so much weight to look gaunt and sick with power that actual Holocaust survivors on set began trembling and crying at the sight of him. Some had to leave. That is how perfectly evil was captured. Have you ever seen something so wrong that it physically hurt inside your chest? Like a hand squeezing your heart? Let that ache rise now, just for a moment, then breathe it out on the longest, slowest exhale you can give me. Good. The pain is leaving with the air. You are safe here. Autumn 1942. The ghetto is gone. In its place rises the Plazow forced labor camp on a barren hill outside the city. Barbed wire glitters under floodlights. Wooden barracks huddle like frightened animals. And on the hilltop stands a handsome villa with red tiles and a balcony that looks down on everything. This is where Amon Goth lives. Every morning he wakes, lights a cigarette, steps onto that balcony in his silk robe, and shoots prisoners for sport while sipping coffee. The sound of the rifle cracks across the valley and lands inside Schindler's factory like a slap. Schindler's workers are now marched to and from Plazow every day under guard. They leave before dawn and return after dark, legs bleeding from the stones, faces gray with exhaustion. One evening, Schindler waits at the gate with a bottle of vodka for the guards. When the column stumbles in, he sees a young woman named Helen Hirsch, Goth's maid. Her cheek bruised purple from a beating. Something inside him snaps like a brittle twig. He takes her face gently in both hands, thumbs brushing the bruise so lightly she barely feels it, and promises her, voice cracking for the first time, that she will survive this. She believes him because his eyes are wet and he has never lied to her before. Reflection for you now. Has anyone ever looked at you with absolute certainty that you would be safe, even when everything around you screamed the opposite? Feel that memory settle over your shoulders like the softest shawl. Let it keep you warm while we walk deeper. Winter, 1942-43. The cold is murderous. Prisoners die every night and are carried out like cordwood. Schindler begins bribing, constantly, creatively, desperately. He turns his office into a black market warehouse. Silk stockings, diamonds, cognac, cigarettes by the carton. He greets every SS officer with a smile and a gift, and the same sentence whispered behind the smile. I need my workers. They are essential. Essential. The word is now a spell. One day, Goth decides to streamline the camp. He orders the children separated. Schindler watches from a distance as hundreds of small bodies are loaded onto trucks. Their mothers scream until their voices give out. He stands frozen, coat unbuttoned despite the snow, tears freezing on his cheeks. That night he gets drunk alone and smashes an entire crate of crystal glasses against the wall, one by one, until his hands bleed. Stern finds him sitting on the floor among the shards. Without a word, Stern kneels, wraps a handkerchief around Schindler's bleeding palm, and says very quietly, "There will come a time when you can save them. Not all, but some." Schindler looks up, eyes red, and for the first time asks, "How?" Stern answers, "With money, with lists, with lies that sound like truth. The seed is planted." Trivia the second. The scene where Goth pardons a young boy for not cleaning his bathtub properly was real. The actual boy, now an old man, said Goth flipped a coin to decide whether to shoot him. Heads, the boy lived. The coin landed heads. The boy never forgot the sound of that coin hitting the floor. Feel the cold air on your own cheeks now, then feel it warmed by your breath. You are not there, you are here, safe, wrapped in blankets and my voice. Let the story carry the cold for you. Spring 1943. Schindler builds a subcamp next to his factory so his workers no longer have to march through the snow. He calls it his little kingdom. Barracks, a kitchen that actually serves hot soup, even a makeshift infirmary. The SS laugh at him for wasting money on Jews, but they take his bribes and look the other way. Inside the wire, children begin to smile again. A woman gives birth and the baby lives. Schindler stands outside the infirmary window at 3 a.m., coat over his pajamas, watching the newborn through the glass, and something vast and aching opens inside his chest. One afternoon, Goth arrives drunk and orders the execution of an engineer named Diana Ryder for pointing out a construction error. Schindler runs across the camp, tie flapping, and argues with Goth in front of everyone, voice rising higher and higher until Goth, amused by the spectacle, waves the woman away with, "All right, Schindler, have your hysterical Jew." Diana Ryder stumbles into Schindler's arms, sobbing. Every prisoner watching understands for the first time that this German is willing to risk his life for them. Have you ever been so afraid for someone else that fear turned into courage without you noticing the change? Let that courage, wherever it lives in you, rise gently now and fill your whole body with quiet golden light. Hold it. Breathe it in. It belongs to you tonight. Summer 1944. The Red Army is coming closer. Goth receives orders to dig up the mass graves at Plazau and burn the bodies to hide the evidence. Schindler watches from a hill as flames light the night sky and ash falls like black snow. He stands there until morning, coat covered in human ash, and makes a decision that will cost him everything he owns. He walks down the hill, finds Stern, and says only 6 words, "I am going to save them." Stern looks at him for a long moment and then, for the first time in years, smiles. The rain outside has almost stopped now. Just a few last drops sliding down the window like quiet tears. You are doing beautifully. Your body is heavy, your mind is soft. We are halfway through the darkness, and the first faint hint of dawn is already waiting on the other side. Rest here for just a moment longer while I hold the next part of the story in my hands, ready to lay it gently over you when you're ready. Let the last drops of rain fade completely now, leaving only the softest hush of night air moving through the open window, cool and clean, like the world itself is exhaling after a long, long cry. Your breathing is slower than it has ever been. Good. Stay exactly there, floating just beneath the surface of sleep, where the story can touch you without waking you. Autumn 1944. The decision is made. Schindler walks into Goth's office carrying a small leather notebook and a bottle of the rarest Armenian brandy in Europe. He sits down opposite the monster, lights 2 cigarettes, hands one across the desk, and begins to speak in the calmest voice he has ever used. "Amen," he says, using the first name as if they are old friends. "The war is ending. We both know it. When it's over, the Americans and the British will want factories that are still working. I have been ordered to relocate my entire operation to Czechoslovakia, Brunn, my hometown area. I need my workers, all of them." Goth laughs, a sound like breaking glass. "You're Jews." Schindler opens the notebook, turns it so Goth can see the first page. A list of names already typed in perfect columns. Essential workers. He corrects softly. Skilled metal workers. Everyone irreplaceable. Then he slides the brandy forward and adds, almost as an afterthought, "I am prepared to pay a fair price." The price is astronomical. 700 Reichsmarks per adult, more for children. because they eat less and therefore cost the Reich less to keep alive. Goth does the arithmetic on a scrap of paper and whistles. Schindler never blinks. He has already sold his wife's jewelry, his cars, his gold cufflinks, half his factory equipment. He will sell the rest before this is over. Trivia the third, whispered against your ear like silk. The real list was never one single piece of paper. There were 4 separate typed lists, constantly revised, argued over, cried over. The one you see in the film is a faithful copy of list number 3, 801 names, typed by Marcel Goldberg in a freezing office, while bribes changed hands under the table. Some people paid thousands to get their families on it. Some were removed because they couldn't pay. The list was never perfect. It was human. Back in the factory, Stern gathers every worker after curfew and tells them quietly, "Pack 1 small bag. 1! Tomorrow we leave for Brunn." Hope flickers across their faces like candlelight on water, too fragile to trust. Children clutch rag dolls. Old men kiss mezuzahs they have carried since childhood. Schindler walks among them, touching shoulders, memorizing faces, whispering, "You are going home with me." Reflection, soft as a feather across your cheek. Have you ever been chosen, truly chosen, for no reason, except that someone decided your life mattered more than money? Let that feeling settle deep in your bones tonight. Let it keep you safe. The women's train is diverted. 300 women and children, including Helen Hirsch and little girls who still believe in fairy tales, are sent not to Brunn, but to Auschwitz-Birkenau. When Schindler hears, he drives through the night in an open staff car, coat flapping like broken wings, arriving at the gates of hell itself at 4 in the morning. He walks straight into the commandant's office carrying 2 suitcases full of diamonds and a bottle of vodka, and says, voice shaking with rage and terror, "Those are my workers. Give them back." It takes 3 days of non-stop bribery, threats, tears, and pure theatrical performance. On the 3rd morning, the women are shaved, disinfected, and loaded onto cattle cars again, this time toward Brunn. Schindler stands on the platform in the freezing rain and counts every single head as they pass. When the last woman stumbles out, hair gone, eyes hollow, he wraps his cashmere coat around her shoulders without a word. Feel the weight of that coat on your own shoulders now, heavy, warm, smelling faintly of expensive cologne and cigarette smoke and desperate love. Let it stay there. The 7th of November, 1944. The trains arrive at Brunlitz. The factory is a shell, empty, useless for making anything the war still needs. Schindler never intended to produce a single shell here. He has spent the last of his fortune buying black market food, coal, medicine. The SS guards assigned to the camp are the oldest and drunkest the Reich can spare. He keeps them drunker. The workers are issued clean striped uniforms with no numbers. Children are hidden in the attic when inspectors come. A tiny synagogue is built in secret behind the lathe machines. Every Friday night, candles are lit, and prayers whispered so softly the sound is almost a lullaby. One evening, Schindler gathers everyone in the courtyard under a sky full of stars that feel impossibly close. He stands on a crate, coat collar turned up, voice hoarse from too many cigarettes and too many lies, and tells them, "This is my gift to you. No more beatings. No more selections. You are safe until the war ends." 1,000 faces look up at him in the moonlight, thin, scarred, beautiful. Someone begins to sing the Hebrew song Hatikva, hope, and within seconds every voice has joined, rising together until the sound fills the valley and drifts out over the sleeping countryside like a promise. Have you ever heard 1,000 people sing the same note of gratitude at the same time? Close your eyes and let that sound live inside your chest tonight, warm and round and endless. Winter 1944-45. The money is gone. The food is almost gone. Schindler sells the last of his gold cigarette case, the one engraved with his initials, to buy bread. He walks the factory floor in shirt sleeves now, thinner, eyes ringed with purple, but still smiling, still calling every worker by name. He celebrates Passover with them, breaking real matzah he bought from a priest for the price of a small car. He kisses babies on the forehead. He teaches children to read using the only book he has left, a German-Polish dictionary. On the night of the 7th of May 1945, a German officer arrives with the official surrender papers. The guards vanish into the forest. The war is over. Silence falls over the factory, so complete you can hear hearts beating. Schindler gathers everyone one last time. He is wearing the same suit he arrived in Krakow with 6 years ago, now threadbare. His hands shake so badly he can barely hold the piece of paper Stern has prepared. He reads, voice breaking every few words, that the workers have made him a gift, a gold ring melted down from dental fillings they pulled from their own mouths. Inside is engraved a line from the Talmud, whoever saves a single life saves the world entire. Then he tries to speak, cannot, and simply weeps in the arms of the people he once employed as cheap labor and now loves more than his own life. The camera lingers on his face, wet, ruined, radiant. This is the moment the mask is gone forever. Let the silence after his tears wash over you now, cool, clean, endless. Breathe it in until your whole body feels made of that same silence. You are almost home. The night air inside the factory is perfectly still now, as if the whole world has paused to listen to one man try to speak through tears. It is just past midnight on the 8th of May 1945. And the war in Europe has ended only hours ago. 1,000 survivors stand in rows in the courtyard, wrapped in blankets, faces lit by a single work lamp that flickers like a tired candle. Their breath rises in pale clouds that mingle with the smoke from Schindler's last cigarette. He is wearing the striped prisoner jacket someone has draped over his shoulders because his own suit is too thin against the mountain cold. The jacket is too short in the sleeves and smells faintly of lye soap and human fear, but he does not take it off. Stern stands at his side, holding a small sheet of onion skin paper that trembles slightly in the wind. On it are the words the workers wrote together while Schindler slept on the floor of his office, exhausted beyond dreaming. Stern begins to read in a voice so soft, it feels like moonlight made audible. To our dear Herr Director, you have given us life when we had none. You have been our father, our protector, our umbrella against the storm. Each sentence lands on Schindler's skin like warm rain. When Stern reaches the part about the ring, Schindler lifts his hand and stares at the simple band of gold on his finger as if he has never seen gold before. The inscription inside is tiny, almost invisible. Whoever saves a single life saves the world entire. He turns the ring slowly, once, twice, and then his face collapses completely. He tries to speak. Nothing comes but a broken animal sound. He covers his mouth with both hands, shoulders shaking so hard the striped jacket slips down one arm. Itzhak Stern places a gentle hand on his back and waits. Finally, Schindler lowers his hands and whispers, barely audible, "I could have done more." The courtyard is so quiet that even the wind seems to stop breathing. He looks around at the thin faces, the children clinging to mothers' legs, the old men whose eyes have seen too much, and the words spill out raw and ragged. This car. Why did I keep this car? 10 people, 10 more people. He touches the hood of the staff car parked nearby, fingers sliding over the cold metal as though it burns. This pin. 2 people, maybe 3. He pulls the Nazi party pin from his lapel and holds it up between thumb and forefinger, a tiny silver swastika catching the lamplight like poison. Then he drops it into the dust and grinds it under his heel as if crushing an insect. A woman near the front begins to sob quietly. The sound spreads like gentle waves until the entire courtyard is crying. Not from grief now, but from a love so large it hurts the chest. Someone steps forward, an old rabbi with a white beard and eyes that have forgiven everything, and places both hands on Schindler's wet cheeks. "You are a righteous man," he says in Yiddish, voice trembling with centuries of gratitude. There are no words. Schindler shakes his head, unable to accept it, but the rabbi will not let go until Schindler finally nods, the smallest movement, and the tears slow. Trivia, the fourth and final. Breathed so close to your ear you can almost feel my lips. In real life, when the war ended, the Schindler-Juden signed a letter almost identical to the one in the film. 2 copies were made. One was lost for decades. In 1993, just before the movie premiered, a German antiques dealer found the second copy rolled up inside an old suitcase he bought at auction. It had 801 signatures in faded ink. He sold it to Yad Vashem for an undisclosed sum. The suitcase still smelled faintly of cognac and cigarettes. Now the sky begins to pale at the edges, the color of watered milk. The survivors form 2 lines and walk Oskar Schindler to the gate as though escorting a king. Every person touches him as he passes. A hand on his sleeve, a kiss on the cheek, a whispered name he will carry forever. Children he once hid in crates reach up to touch his coat. At the gate he turns for one last look. 1,000 pairs of eyes look back at him with something beyond gratitude, something that says you are no longer the man who arrived in Krakow with 2 suitcases and a smile. You are ours and we are yours, and nothing can ever take that away. Reflection, soft as the first bird of morning. Have you ever been forgiven for something you still cannot forgive yourself for? Let that forgiveness settle over you now, like the gentlest dawn. Let it stay. The camera pulls back slowly. The factory, the courtyard, the people shrink to tiny figures against the vast Czech hills. Then the screen dissolves from black and white to living color, and we are suddenly in 1993, walking along a Jerusalem street paved with sunlight. The real survivors, older now, some leaning on canes, some holding grandchildren, walk in a long, quiet line toward a grave covered in thousands of small stones. Each person places 1 stone on the mound. The camera lingers on hands, wrinkled hands, young hands, hands that once polished pots in Krakow, hands that once typed lists at midnight, hands that once pulled gold from teeth to make a ring. One by one they pay their respects to the man who could not save the world, but who saved their world. Liam Neeson walks last, representing all of us who came after, and places his stone with the others. The wind moves softly through the cypress trees. Somewhere a bell rings once, low and clear. Have you ever stood at a grave, and felt more alive than ever before. Let that strange, bright aliveness fill you now, from the soles of your feet to the crown of your head, until you are glowing quietly in the dark of your room. The final shot lingers on the stones, hundreds upon hundreds of them, each one a life, each one a world entire. Fade to black. This screen has been black for a long time now, long enough for the last echo of the bell in Jerusalem to fade completely, long enough for the stones on the grave to settle into perfect stillness. There is no music, only the quiet sound of your own breathing and, somewhere far away, the memory of rain that stopped hours ago. You are lying very heavy in the bed, arms and legs made of warm sand, thoughts soft as candle smoke. Good. Stay exactly there. Oskar Schindler died on the 9th of October, 1974, in a small apartment in Frankfurt, penniless, almost forgotten by the world he once charmed so easily. He was buried in Jerusalem on Mount Zion, the only former Nazi Party member ever granted that honor, because the people he saved insisted. Every year on his Yahrzeit, the survivors and their children's children still come to place new stones. The grave has never been empty of them. Feel the cool smoothness of one of those stones in your palm now. Small, ordinary, heavier than it has any right to be. Hold it against your heart for a moment. It is warm from someone else's hand. Reflection, the last one, whispered so gently it is almost a kiss on your forehead. What is the smallest thing you could do tomorrow that might make one single life feel less alone? Not to save the world, just one world. Let that thought drift across the surface of your mind like a paper boat on quiet water. You do not have to decide tonight. You only have to let the question rest inside you, where it will grow roots while you sleep. The factory is gone. The camp is gone. The ghetto streets are gone. But the list still exists, typed on onion skin, folded into archives and memories and stories told to children who fall asleep feeling safer because of it. Over 13,000 descendants walk the earth today because one man decided, very late, that profit was not the only currency that mattered. 13,000 ordinary, miraculous lives. Let that number settle over you like the softest quilt. 13,000 heartbeats that would never have happened without a flawed, charming, frightened, brave man who once stood in a courtyard and cried because he thought he had failed. You did not fail tonight. You stayed. You listened. You let the whole, heavy, beautiful truth rest on your chest until it turned into light. That is enough. That is more than enough. The room around you is perfectly dark now, perfectly safe. The blankets have grown warmer while we spoke. Your eyelids are impossibly heavy, your thoughts slow and sweet as honey dripping from a spoon. Somewhere inside your chest, a tiny candle is still burning, the one you carried when we began, and it will stay lit long after you have slipped all the way under. Before I let you go, one final gentle truth. The girl in the red coat was never found. Spielberg left her fate unknown on purpose, because some stories must remain unfinished so that we keep looking for the color in the darkness ourselves. Tonight, and every night you need it, may you be the red coat for someone else. Just a flash of impossible hope moving through a world that has forgotten how to see in color. Now breathe in once more, deeper than you thought possible, and when you breathe out, let every last thread of tension leave with the air. Shoulders, jaw, fingers, toes. Gone. The story has done its work. It loves you. It releases you. You are drifting now, past the edge of words, past the edge of needing anything at all. The rain will return tomorrow if you want it. The stones will wait. The list is safe. You are safe. You are deeply, perfectly, unconditionally loved. Good night, sweet one. Sleep as long and as peacefully as every name on that list deserves. I will be here when you wake, whispering the next story whenever you are ready. Fade completely now into the softest black, into the gentlest dark, into the deepest, sweetest sleep you have ever known.